Relationships. I know I was going to talk about the characters of cheating, and we're going to get into that probably tomorrow. But I thought this would be a good topic because dating in 2023 and probably going to be the same thing in 2024 is complicated. It's very, very complicated. It's extremely challenging. The world we live in right now is crazy. And I thought this would be a good topic because it's a good testament of where I'm at too. Um, where it's something to talk about. And let's dive into it. Why dating is so complicated in 2023 and how it's going to be complicated even more in 2024. I have some notes here. So if I'm looking down, don't get mad at me. I got my notes on my computer just so I can get context and I can stay on task because I've been off task sometimes. But thank you again for tuning in to Levi Podcast, where we build relationships with love. And what I love about this podcast is that most people are targeted for women. And maybe I have to do things like that where I target to a certain group. And maybe right now it's more broader, and then we can get into the deep rooted work when we start diving into the specific sexes. Because I know a lot of people do these channels mostly cater to women because women, they be looking, and I get it, I understand. But my fellas are taught to be this macho, machismo, high value type of dude. And there are guys who may not be in that high value category, but are still high value men. And so we'll get into that for another day. But let's talk about dating, man. Dating in 2021. I got my notes here. My top 10 reasons why dating is complicated in 2023, and even probably even in 2024. Going with number one, communication issues is a good one. Communication issues are very, very complex in today's world. I think a lot of times we don't know how to communicate with each other. We don't know how to talk to each other. We know how to talk at each other. I don't think we know how to talk to one another. Most of the times when we're having communications, I'm trying to move this. Sorry about that. I'm trying to move this thing so it don't necessarily fall. But most of the time when we have communication and we do have communication with our partners, it's more so talking at them and not talking to listen. You already got a preconceived notion that you're going to say something soon after they get done talking, and you're already ready to say what you got to say. You know what I'm saying? And then even times it's a lot of misunderstanding. And the world we live in now, people don't call on the phone as much, and they do more texting, and texting is the new norm. And so what a lot of people do is they text, and it's hard to gauge a value of emotion in the text. And so if somebody seems upset in a text, then you're going to think their demeanor and their tone is very angry and aggressive, but they can be like not even on that type of time. And then you got to call them and try to talk and be like, and you're already going at it with a situation where you're just like, what's your problem? You're like, what are you talking about? I'm good. No, you ain't good. I see it in your text. When you way you text and seem like you upset. No, I'm really good. And so a lot of misunderstanding can happen from text. Um, Another thing is communication is a barrier if you never learned how to communicate effectively, critically, and constructively. A lot of times we tell somebody like you're just an a-hole because you made me mad. And sometimes when you tell somebody they an a-hole, they already gonna come at you in a defensive concept because you came at them in a very aggressive concept. So especially men, if a woman calls a man an a-hole, they can react in two kind of ways. They can be more so like, what? I ain't no a-hole. You just da 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 da. Or it can be more so like, oh wow, for real, bet, and then shut down, and then they don't open up. And so sometimes you gotta understand there's just a right way to say certain things. A lot of times it's not good to say things and communicate when you're angry, but a lot of times we do that anyway. And I know, funny story, and I always say these, but you know they're never funny. They're life lessons. I was in a relationship for 7 years on and off, and me and my ex, we didn't really know how to communicate. But I thought we was communicating the way you're supposed to. But we did a lot of yelling, we did a lot of arguing, we did a lot of talking to. And then when I got in a new relationship that didn't have that component, I thought that that person had an issue and didn't know how to communicate, but really that was actually a more effective way of communicating. And so that's for another topic for another day. But communication, man, communication issues. Expectations. Number two is expectations. I truly feel that we have unrealistic expectations. Even myself sometimes. We have this new saying, high value men. And if you always realize it's always men, man, high value. We don't really hear about high value women. And if you hear about a high value women, it's more so status, age, body, all that stuff. It's like if they don't have kids and if they look a certain way and if they're a certain age, then that's a high value woman. And then for my men, if you got over $100,000, if you're 6 feet tall, if you're a certain look and you're doing X, Y, and Z, then you're a high value man. We like to put value on people because it makes sense for us. We like to make things logical. But at the end of the day, value is the beauty of the beholder. In value, you can find value in a lot of things. God finds value in the small things. It's not about how much you got, it's how much you got in you, like in your heart, how you take care of somebody, how you care for somebody, how you're there for somebody, how you, communicate with somebody. And I think our expectations are unrealistic. They're so unrealistic. And we have this preconceived notion that people or a relationship go a certain way based off our understanding of what somebody should do. We have timetables, we have time frames, we put time on everything, and everything has this sort of outcome. If you don't do this by this time, then that means that you don't care. And so our expectations are crazy. And sometimes what we may expect may not be the true reality, right? You may think that, somebody should do certain things based off what you do for them, but that's not always a reality. And so I just think our expectations is unrealistic. Social media has had an impact on those unexpected or unrealistic expectations, I should say. Because even look, we was having this debate about where you should take your date on a date, where you should take your person on a date, on a first date. Like, really? You have an expectations to think that you should be able to go to a $1,000 restaurant. And I'm not saying you shouldn't be able to. If that's what you want and the guy wants to do that, then that's cool. But then you know what the expectation is and the expectation that you're setting. Sometimes we don't articulate that, going back to number one, because of the communication. We don't say, hey, this is not going to happen on a regular, but I'm going to do this because I really want to let you know that that's you somebody I really want to get to know. We don't do that. We try to set this expectation, and then women and men, for example, men think if you putting out, you know what I'm saying, on a first night, then it's an expectation that anytime they want it, you got to put out. And women may think, hey, if you taking me to a 5-star and you flying me out, then anything below that is below and beneath my expectation. And that ain't something I need to deal with because I'm used to 5-star type stuff. I'm used to girls putting out on the first night. I'm used to a certain thing, and just because it don't meet your certain thing, now you are upset. Expectations. That's one of the other reasons. Fear of rejection. This is a big one for me. It's impact me a lot because sometimes I'm afraid to talk to people because of the fear of rejection. And sometimes we can settle because of fear. We can settle for somebody that we probably wasn't even supposed to be with because of fear of taking a chance, because of fear of taking a risk. Sometimes we will stay in bad and toxic relationships because of fear. Sometimes we would deal with unnecessary stuff because of fear. Fear of rejection is a real thing. It's a real thing. I'm sorry about that. It's a real thing. When you are afraid of getting rejected, you can do things out of fear. And that's one of the things you don't want to do. And it says, fear of rejection is a common barrier. The vulnerability that comes with operating or opening up to someone, and then the fear of being rejected can make people hesitant to approach others. You know, especially for my men. Y'all know, fellas, it is so complicated, but is it really complicated? Because at the end of the day, when you go up to a young lady and you go and try to get to know them and get to talk to them, you're like, I want to try to get to know you, but the fear of what they gonna say can hinder you sometimes. It can impact you, man. You take a couple L's, a few L's, it can either do two things. And for me, it sometimes messes with the ego sometimes. It messes with the pride. Sometimes it's a humbling experience. You think you're all that, and maybe you're really not all that. Because not everybody thinks you're good. Not everybody thinks you're attractive. You're not the top 10 on everybody's list. You get what I'm saying? But for a fella, you know, for my man, we go out there, we putting our best foot forward, we think this is going to get it, and they hit you with the coldest line. Some of them, they give you a look and they just let you know you ain't it. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then that stops you from trying. It stops you from going out there and putting your best foot forward. It stops you from possibly meeting your blessing. So fear of rejection is a real thing. A lot of us are afraid to be hurt, afraid to open up. And a lot of times we are in relationships and we try to be in relationships, but we can't even be our true, authentic self because we think that once we show who we are, we're not going to be accepted. The fear of rejection. Online dating. We have lived in a world now where Tinder, Bumble, Hinge, you know, I'm trying to online dating things because meeting people in person, hey, fear of rejection, right? It's tough to go up to somebody, and I don't feel like I don't be wanting to bother people. I just don't. I don't want to bother people. I don't want to be like this guy, the guy that they like, oh my God, typical dude. I just don't. Sometimes I just don't want to feel like dealing with that. And it's easy for us to just go on a dating app and just swipe away. But you have people who are not being true to themselves based off a profile. They may come off a certain way and say a certain thing and say this is who they are, but truly that's not them. Or they may display pictures and it's not who their true self is. But I think the online dating is making it convenient, but then for my women, because y'all know it's a lot of thirsty men out there. It's a lot of thirsty men out there, and so you have decision fatigue and you don't know what's a good or a bad pick. And for my men, sometimes, let's be honest, we'll talk about this on another day. We looking for most of the external. We looking for a lot of the external outside things instead of, you know, we see some of the things, and I got to catch myself sometimes, but we do all got preferences. We got preferences. That's what it is. But the online dating has changed things, and I call it the interview aspect of dating because the online dating is like this. You start off with the looking for a job. And then what you do is you apply. When you swipe on somebody and you like somebody, you pretty much apply for the job. And then based off your resume or based off what you said to that person to try to get them to say something back to you will determine if you get an interview. The interview happens when you guys start talking and going back and forth through chat. If you guys make it through the chat phase, then you get an opportunity to do an in-person interview where you get to meet that person. And then if that person likes you, then they may bring you on to a second interview. And then by the time the third or fourth day, you're easily got the job and you're working to keep the job, and you're going to be on probably a year, maybe or so, probationary period until you probably get into a relationship or not. And if it don't work, then you go back into the whole cycle again. It's very, 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 very time consuming. It's fatigue. It's a lot. And when you're looking at it from that concept, online dating is a challenge, but it's the new norm. But it's like people don't like to get talked to and approached like back in the day. And then you have the online experience where it's just multiple people just swiping and swiping and swiping. you're probably like, if you're average, let's just say if you're a woman, you're probably getting about 20, 30, 40 swipes a day, maybe. That's 40 people a day. If you got 7 days a week, that's 280 people that you're trying to decipher from. And you got life, you got problems. I mean, you got situations, you got things you're dealing with. You ain't got time for it. It's a lot. And it goes into the fifth one, time and priorities. Sometimes you just don't got time. Individuals may be on different points of their lives with varied priorities and goals, conflicting schedules, career ambitions, or personal issues can make it difficult for people to find compatible partners. Pretty much, you're just not on the same page. That's why it's tough, because you're not on the same page. What you want may not be what they want. I know for me, sometimes I've tried to talk to younger women, and for my younger women, we're just not on the same page. Sometimes they like, I'm doing me, and I'm like, well, I'm trying to be here. And I'm not trying to rush situations, but and here's my thing though. You know what? I'm gonna be honest. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm gonna be 100. I think that the I'm doing me is the new way of saying I'm not interested. And it's okay. It's okay. A lot of people don't like confrontation. They don't like to be honest. But I think that is the new norm today is I'm trying to do me means that you're not the one that I want to start that with. And that's okay. 100%. That's okay. But that's what I think a lot of times, because I've been in situations where somebody say, I'm trying to do me. And then a couple of weeks or 3 weeks later, you see them booed up, or they in a relationship, or they talking to somebody. And you just like, well, wait a minute, hold up. You just said you was trying to do you, and now today you booed up. Life without you ain't the same. And that's okay. It's okay, like I said. But I think that I'm trying to do me is not really sometimes, not all the time, but sometimes for some women, that's just a new way of saying, I'm not interested. I'm focusing on me right now. I'm trying to get me right. But it's pretty much saying, you cool, but you ain't the one I want to stop worrying about me for. And that's okay. And so sometimes you're on two different timelines, or you're just not what they want, or you're just not what they're looking for, and it doesn't work out. Social anxiety. Social anxiety or shyness can hinder one's ability to approach and connect with potential partners. The fear of judgment. And that's one of those, again, a fear. It's a fear thing. You're scared. Hey, man, I ain't going to hold you. My dog, we used to play this game in the club, and used to call me Dear I Bake. Because when it came to approaching a female, all my insecurities that I dealt with as a young kid always came about. And I never felt confident. And crazy thing, I got one of the greatest things that people love, and that's personality, charisma, funny, all that stuff. I may not be with the cutest thing, but I can get it in other aspects. And I'm not saying I'm ugly, but I'm not, I just keep it being. I'm not, what they call eye candy, whatever the case may be, and that's okay. But I get women and I get people once I get to know me, with the charm, the charisma, my caring heart, just funny and always being just dope personality. Like I get them with those things or whatever the case may be. But even with all those things, when it comes to approaching women, I get nervous. Your boy gets scared. Type 1 in the chat, fellas, if you get scared when it's time to man up, or even just say something. I don't even want to say man up, but when it's time to go and try, I get so nervous, and I'll be like, bro, she probably got a dude. She probably ain't interested. And I don't know if she did or didn't, but I've psyched myself out so many times, and he always used to call me Dear I. We'd be in the club, and he'd be like, yo, you go talk to that. And it wasn't even about trying to get at people. It was just getting out of my comfort zone. And when it came to, I'll be, hey, and she probably like, this dude's a creep. I'm just being honest. Like, I didn't have no G. I can G it when I get you comfortable, but before that, I don't have G. So just being in two different times. Another one is past experience. Our past experience, our past traumas. We take our past traumas in relationships, and a lot of times we don't know how to let go of the past. And so we bring the past into the present, and the present impacts the future. I'm going to say that again. We don't know how to let go of the past, And so we bring the past into the present, and then the present impacts the future because we take what we dealt with from this person is what we're going to deal with this person. If we see anything that's similar to that person, then we automatically assume that it's going to happen the same way with this person, and then it impacts our future, and that's not always the case. I always stand on this motto of giving everybody a fair shake. Give them a fair shake. You got to give them a fair shake. And if it don't work, it don't work. But you can't go in there with the same mindset thinking, well, if they did it, then this person going to do it because that person did it and this person did it. And I don't want to ignore the signs this time. And that's when communication comes in. Communication is the key. But at the end of the day, the past trauma impacts us. It impacts us. It hurts us. It prevents us from trying new things because of our past. And then when we see anything similar to our past, the first thing we do is run. When we don't realize that there are a lot of similarities in a lot of new relationships, and you have to kind of go through the kinks. Now, if you're seeing like real big red flags, and we can talk about that later, like abusive or anger management type stuff, then yeah, for sure. But not every situation is always going to pan out the same way just because it looks the same way. And you can believe that. That's how God works. Sometimes you be in some situations that you think, oh, I dealt with this before. It's going to happen this way. And it happened totally different. That's just how it be. You know what I'm saying? Number 8, cultural and social pressures. Cultural expectations and societal norms regarding dating can add pressure and stress. This may include expectations around age, status, and specific relationship milestones. Not everybody's going to get married. I know I want to be married. I do. I just want to. I want to get married. I want to get married. I want to have a family. That's me. But that's not everybody's milestone. That's not everybody's goal. Some people don't want to be married, but society tells you that if you're not married, then you tripping. If you 30-something with no kids, then you tripping. If you dating somebody for 4 years and without a ring, you tripping. I mean, if you don't want to be married, right? If you want to be married, then maybe you're tripping. But if you don't want to be married, you ain't tripping. You just don't want to be married. And then if you believe in God and you getting it popping, then yeah, you sinning, but that's another topic for another day. But at the end of the day, we have these society constructs that tell you need to be doing this by this age or you tripping. Something's wrong with you. Something's not right. Because this is how we used to do it. And the fact of the matter is, just because that's what we used to do don't mean we got to do that today. But those things impact relationships. It put too much pressure on the relationships, and we end up getting in relationships with the wrong people because of society and social pressures. It's tough. Relationships and dating is tough. It's not getting no easier, and I feel like it ain't even going to get easier at all. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better. Just being honest. And then cultural. Maybe you dating somebody that is outside of your ethnicity. They may have different things and different expectations from their husband or their wives. And if you don't do those certain things, then we can't be together. It's like it has to be this, especially for my Indian folks. The Indian women, you can't date nothing outside of Indian. And if you do, you getting banned and shunned from your family. There's other cultures like that. So at the end of the day, it's pressures because maybe you don't find your own culture amusing or attractive and you like people outside of it. But then the social constructs tell you can't be with somebody outside of your race. It's tough. It's tough. Lack of compatibility. We talked about the 3, right? Compatibility, connection, chemistry. You can be cool with somebody. Y'all can have great chemistry, but y'all just not compatible to be in a relationship. Y'all good to be friends. And I'm working on just having friends. Just being cool. Just being friendly, chopping it up. I don't want nothing from you. I don't want to date you. I just want to be cool. Chop it up. How was your day, fam? Was it good? Did you have a great day? Was it okay? And I just think we need to stop forcing situations just because it looks good. We all like to be date doctors, right? We all like to be date. I got this ready for you. I got this homegirl for you. I got this for you. And it's getting to the point where it doesn't matter who you got for me. That's not who I'm supposed to be with. At the end of the day, we just not compatible. You know what I'm saying? Y'all got good chemistry, y'all good folks, but y'all just not relationship compatible. Y'all more friendship compatible. And compatibility is a big thing. It's big. And that's last but not least, it's a lack of self-confidence, man. And this is one of those things that I deal with sometimes. It's just being confident, man. And it says low self-esteem or lack of self-confidence can hinder one's ability to engage in the dating process. Building self-esteem and self-worth is crucial in healthy dating experience. At the end of the day, you have to be complete before you can help be complete with somebody else. At the end of the day, you have to do what's best for you. You have to really do the work. You really have to know. A lot of us don't even know what we want out of a person. And sometimes we just want people because we're lonely. I mean, truth be told, we don't even know why we want a relationship. Have you ever asked yourself that? Why do you want to be in a relationship? Do you know why? Do you even know? Or is it just something to do? Because we go through these phases, right? We know what it is. It's cuffing season right now. It's cuffing season. And then the winter time comes or the springtime comes, you start bickering and start fighting. And then summertime comes, it's breakup and is hot girl, hot boy, hoochie daddy shorts, all this summertime. And then you do it back over again. You get in the winter time and you want to be cuddled up with somebody and you go through the process because you don't even know why you want to be in a relationship in the first place. Some of us are in relationships and we don't know why. Some of us are in relationships because we think it's supposed to complete us. Some of us are in relationships because we think it's the thing to do. Some of us are in relationships because somebody told us to be in a relationship. Some of us are in a relationship because society is in relationships. They telling us this is what you need to be. This is where you better be. And if you're not, then something's wrong with you. Why are you in a relationship? At the end of the day, fam, dating is complex. Dating is challenging. Dating is hard. Dating takes work. Dating is damn near like being in a relationship. But before you can start dating, are you at a point in your life where you are content with who you are? Are you comfortable with who you are? Do you love who you are? Do you value who you are? If you don't value or love yourself, then stop trying to focus on getting with somebody else. Start being in a relationship with you first. And I think if you do that first, I'm not saying dating won't be complex and complicated, but it will feel a lot better and easier because you can decipher from the nonsense. And don't settle for something you was never supposed to be with in the first place. Dating and in this world, you can't date somebody until you know how to date you. Learn how to date you first. Learn how to date you. And once you learn how to date you, then you can communicate that to somebody else to teach them how to date you. And be flexible on how to date you. But at the end of the day, it's still tough. Anyway, man, I love you guys, man. Let me know what you think about today's episode. Let me know what topics that you guys want to talk about next. Remember, this is the Levi Podcast. I go by the name of Bake, and here we build relationships with love. And once we start getting to the deep-rooted, intentional work, we're going to get other folks on the show to talk because I'm only one person. I don't know it all, baby. I really don't. But you have a happy holidays. Enjoy your holiday vacation. I think before we do the second segment of cheating, we're going to talk about gifts. Gifts. The best gifts to get a significant other. for Christmas? Let's talk about it. All right, man. We love y'all. Peace.